Welcome. Some of the most overlooked coins in America have stories that collectors never stop talking about, and the Jefferson Nickel is one of them. What looks completely ordinary can hide remarkable details that separate everyday pocket change from truly exceptional collector pieces. Stay with us as we uncover the history, the hidden features, and the real factors that make certain Jefferson Nickels stand out in today's collecting world. First coin. The 1964 Jefferson Nickel. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary 5-cent piece that spent decades passing from one pocket to another, but beneath that familiar appearance lies a fascinating story of record-breaking production, changing economic pressures, and the relentless search for exceptional quality. Most examples are common, yet a remarkably small percentage survive with the razor-sharp detail and pristine surfaces that advanced collectors pursue. As this story unfolds, you'll discover what authenticated examples of this Denver Mint issue have sold for at auction, why certain pieces command dramatically stronger prices than others, and how experts determine whether a seemingly ordinary nickel deserves serious attention. The year 1964 marked a turning point in American coinage. The United States was experiencing rapid economic growth, expanding commerce, and an increasing demand for small change as millions of everyday transactions relied on coins. At the same time, silver coins were disappearing from circulation as the rising value of precious metals encouraged hoarding. Although the Jefferson Nickel contained no silver, the shortage of circulating coinage affected every denomination. The U.S. Mint responded by operating at an extraordinary pace, producing unprecedented quantities of coins to keep commerce moving. The Denver Mint became one of the primary workhorses during this period, striking an astonishing 1.78 billion Jefferson Nickels bearing the small d mint mark. That remains one of the largest mintages ever recorded for any United States nickel, making the 1964 D an excellent example of how massive production does not always translate into abundant high-quality survivors. Physically, the coin reflects the classic Jefferson Nickel design introduced in 1938. The obverse features a dignified portrait of President Thomas Jefferson created by sculptor Felix Schlag, whose winning design replaced the long-running Buffalo nickel. Jefferson faces left, accompanied by the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1964. The reverse displays Jefferson's Virginia home, Monticello, carefully rendered with its recognizable dome and symmetrical architecture. The words EPLUBUSUNUM, MONTICLLO, 5 cents, and United States of America complete the design. Measuring 21.2 millimeters in diameter, weighing 5 grams, and composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, the coin has a plain edge and a distinctive silvery appearance that differs from silver coinage despite containing no precious metal. Its durable alloy allowed these nickels to withstand decades of circulation, which explains why millions still exist today, though often with heavy wear. The tremendous speed at which the Denver Mint operated in 1964 also introduced an important reality for collectors. High production volumes meant dies remained in service for extended periods, and striking pressure sometimes varied as officials prioritized quantity over perfection. As a result, many surviving 1964 D nickels display softer details, particularly around Jefferson's hair, the steps leading to Monticello, and portions of the building's architectural lines. These characteristics are not necessarily damage, they often originated during the striking process itself. Collectors therefore place tremendous emphasis on coins exhibiting unusually bold strikes, especially examples showing complete and uninterrupted stair details beneath Monticello's entrance. These so-called full-step specimens represent only a tiny fraction of the enormous mintage, making them considerably more desirable than average mint state examples, even when both coins appear nearly flawless to an untrained eye. Grading plays a decisive role in separating an ordinary 1964 D nickel from one capable of attracting four-figure bids. Professional grading services examine every aspect of a coin, including luster, strike quality, preservation, contact marks, and overall eye appeal before assigning a numerical grade on the Sheldon scale. Most circulated examples remain worth only modest premiums over face value, while uncirculated coins in grades such as MS63 or MS64 are readily available because so many were saved in rolls during the 1960s. The landscape changes dramatically at the highest levels. An authenticated MS67 specimen with exceptional luster and clean surfaces can attract collector interest exceeding approximately $1,300 under favorable market conditions. Coins that combine an elite grade with outstanding strike quality and coveted full steps designation have achieved substantially stronger results, illustrating how condition rarity, rather than simple scarcity, drives the upper end of the market. As collectors study the series more closely, they also search for legitimate mint errors and die varieties that distinguish one coin from billions of nearly identical examples. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, retained cuds, broad strikes, and dramatic die breaks occasionally escape the mint's quality control and now attract specialists. Repunched mint marks are not a feature of this issue because the Denver mint mark was part of the master die process by this period, but doubled dies and other hub-related varieties remain possible, although major examples are relatively scarce. Every unusual feature requires careful authentication because damage acquired after leaving the mint can easily imitate a genuine error. A verified and visually impressive mint error on a 1964 Jefferson Nickel may command prices well beyond those of a normal example, particularly when certified by respected grading companies and supported by established variety references. The market has repeatedly demonstrated that exceptional quality commands exceptional premiums, even for coins produced in enormous numbers. Certified auction records reveal that top population examples possessing remarkable eye appeal and fully defined design elements have realized prices comfortably above $3,000 when advanced collectors competed for ownership. In extraordinary cases involving elite grades with full steps designation, authenticated auction results have climbed even higher, reflecting the intense competition for condition rarities that few collections can include. These impressive outcomes should never be interpreted as typical values for every 1964 nickel. Instead, they illustrate the principle that rarity within grade often matters far more than total mintage. Two coins sharing the same date and mint mark may differ in value by thousands of dollars, simply because one preserved microscopic details that the other lost through weaker striking, storage marks, or years of circulation. Authentication has therefore become one of the most important steps before assigning meaningful value to any potentially significant example. Experienced numismatists first confirm the coin's correct weight, diameter, metallic composition, and magnetic behavior, remembering that genuine Jefferson Nickels are not attracted to magnets because of their copper-nickel alloy. They then inspect the surfaces under magnification for evidence of artificial polishing, altered dates, added mint marks, tooling, or casting defects commonly found on counterfeit pieces. Genuine mint luster flows across the surface in a distinctive cartwheel pattern that is difficult for counterfeiters to reproduce convincingly. Certification by established third-party grading companies provides an additional layer of confidence by verifying authenticity, assigning an impartial grade, and encapsulating the coin in a tamper-evident holder that protects it from further damage while enhancing buyer confidence in the marketplace. Preservation is equally critical because even minor mishandling can permanently reduce collector appeal. A freshly discovered uncirculated nickel should never be cleaned, polished, or rubbed in an attempt to improve its appearance. Such actions frequently leave hairline scratches and destroy original mint luster, often lowering the coin's desirability despite making it appear brighter to an inexperienced eye. Instead, collectors recommend holding the coin only by its edges, storing it in inert archival quality holders, capsules, or certified slabs, and keeping it in a stable environment with low humidity and minimal temperature fluctuations. Albums containing PVC should be avoided because certain plastics can release chemicals over time that damage coin surfaces. Proper long-term storage preserves both the visual integrity and the potential market value of the coin, allowing future collectors to appreciate it in the same condition as when it left the Denver Mint decades ago. The enduring fascination surrounding the 1964 Jefferson Nickel lies in its remarkable contradiction. It is simultaneously one of the most plentiful nickels ever produced and one of the most challenging modern issues to locate in truly elite condition with an exceptional strike. That paradox continues to fuel collector interest generation after generation, reminding numismatists that rarity is often defined not by how many coins were struck, but by how few survived with extraordinary quality. While the vast majority of examples remain affordable pieces of American history, authenticated high-grade specimens with outstanding eye appeal, superior strike characteristics, rare certified varieties, or significant mint errors occupy an entirely different level of the market. Their values are determined not by date alone, but through the combined influence of professional authentication, preservation, grading, rarity, collector demand, and competitive bidding, transforming an everyday 5-cent coin into one of the most compelling stories in modern American numismatics. Next coin. At first glance, the 1974 Jefferson Nickel appears to be nothing more than another ordinary 5-cent coin that quietly circulated through grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, and countless cash registers across America. Yet beneath that familiar appearance is a surprisingly complex story that has steadily attracted the attention of serious collectors. While millions of these nickels survived, only a tiny fraction escaped decades of circulation with exceptional preservation and superior striking quality. Those elite examples have transformed an otherwise common issue into a fascinating modern collectible. As this documentary unfolds, you'll discover why specialists carefully examine every detail of this coin, what characteristics determine its collector value, and what authenticated examples have achieved when offered to knowledgeable buyers in the numismatic marketplace. The year 1974 placed the United States in the middle of a challenging economic period. Inflation was climbing, the effects of the 1973 oil crisis were still being felt, gasoline shortages had disrupted daily life, and consumers watched prices rise at a pace many had never experienced before. Although the Jefferson Nickel contained no silver and had escaped the dramatic composition changes that affected dimes, quarters, and half-dollars in the mid-1960s, it remained one of the country's most heavily used circulating coins. Every day it facilitated millions of small purchases, making dependable production essential for commerce. The United States Mint continued striking enormous quantities of nickels at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, while the San Francisco Mint focused primarily on proof coinage intended for collectors. The 1974 issue, therefore, represents a period when practicality, efficiency, and durability mattered just as much as artistic tradition. By 1974, the Jefferson Nickel design had already become one of the longest-running motifs in American coinage. Sculptor Felix Schlag's portrait of Thomas Jefferson, first introduced in 1938, remained on the obverse, presenting the nation's third president facing left with a calm, thoughtful expression. Surrounding him are the familiar inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date. The reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, rendered with remarkable architectural symmetry despite the coin's modest size. Above the building appears EPLUBUSUNUM, while United States of America, 5 cents, and MONTICLLO complete the design. Every 1974 Jefferson Nickel weighs 5 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, has a plain edge, and is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This copper-nickel alloy was selected because it offered excellent wear resistance, allowing the coins to remain in circulation for decades without the rapid deterioration associated with softer metals. Production during 1974 reflected the Mint's continuing emphasis on meeting nationwide demand. Philadelphia struck well over 600 million circulation nickels without a Mint mark, while Denver produced an even larger quantity bearing the small d Mint mark to the right of Monticello on the reverse. San Francisco, meanwhile, manufactured proof specimens distinguished by deeply mirrored fields and frosted design elements when freshly struck. Although these production totals ensured that 1974 nickels would never become rare simply because of low mintage, they introduced another challenge for collectors. The Mint prioritized speed and efficiency, meaning die wear sometimes affected strike sharpness before dies were replaced. Consequently, many surviving examples display slightly softened details in Jefferson's hair or the steps leading to Monticello. These subtle differences would later become some of the most important characteristics separating ordinary pieces from highly desirable collector-grade examples. Professional grading reveals just how dramatically condition influences desirability. Most circulated 1974 nickels remain plentiful because they fulfilled their intended purpose for many years before eventually being removed from circulation. Uncirculated examples are also relatively available thanks to collectors who saved rolls directly from banks during the 1970s. However, the highest mint state grades become increasingly elusive because even freshly minted coins often acquired tiny contact marks while being transporting in large canvas bags. Grading services carefully evaluate luster, strike quality, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal using the Sheldon numerical scale. Coins certified in grades such as MS66 are attractive collector pieces, but examples reaching MS67 or higher become far more difficult to locate. When extraordinary preservation combines with exceptional strike quality, authenticated specimens have brought approximately $1,150 to $1,700 in competitive markets, depending on certification, originality, and current demand. One of the most closely studied features on modern Jefferson Nickels is the definition of the steps beneath Monticello's entrance. Collectors refer to the sharpest examples as full steps, a designation awarded only when the stair lines remain fully visible according to the standards of the grading service. Achieving that designation requires both an exceptionally strong strike and minimal post-striking damage, making qualifying examples much scarcer than their enormous mintages would suggest. A coin with ordinary strike characteristics and another displaying complete full steps may share the same date, mint, and overall grade, yet their market values can differ dramatically because specialists recognize just how difficult truly complete step detail is to obtain. This distinction has become one of the defining factors behind the growing enthusiasm for high-grade Jefferson Nickels from the 1970s. Naturally, collectors also search for genuine mint errors and documented die varieties, though reliable examples must always be distinguished from damage that occurred after the coin entered circulation. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, struck-through errors, and certain double die varieties have been documented within the Jefferson Nickel series, but no famous blockbuster variety uniquely defines the regular 1974 issue in the way some other United States coins are known for a single celebrated era. Whenever an unusual-looking 1974 nickel appears, careful examination is essential because flattened lettering, machine damage, or environmental corrosion can easily imitate legitimate mint-made anomalies. Certified error coins that display dramatic, unquestionably authentic production mistakes generally command significantly stronger premiums than ordinary examples, especially when accompanied by professional attribution from respected grading services. As interest in registry set competition has intensified, auction results have demonstrated that even common-date nickels can become surprisingly valuable under the right circumstances. Collectors assembling the finest certified Jefferson Nickel collections compete aggressively for top population coins, particularly those carrying elite mint state grades and the coveted full steps designation. Verified auction records have shown that exceptional certified examples can exceed approximately $3,200 when multiple advanced bidders pursue the same coin. Those prices do not represent ordinary circulation finds, nor should they be interpreted as typical values for every 1974 nickel. Instead, they reflect the extraordinary scarcity of coins combining pristine surfaces, outstanding luster, razor-sharp strikes, excellent eye appeal, and elite certification. Authentication, grading, originality, and collector demand ultimately determine whether a coin belongs in that exclusive category. Because premium examples can command significant premiums, authentication has become increasingly important. Specialists begin by confirming the coin's standard weight, diameter, and copper-nickel composition before studying its surfaces under magnification. Genuine mint luster exhibits a flowing cartwheel effect that moves naturally beneath light, while cleaned or altered pieces often display unnatural brightness and fine hairline scratches. Counterfeiters rarely target ordinary, circulated 1974 nickels because of their modest value, but altered high-grade examples, manipulated surfaces, and misleading representations occasionally appear in the marketplace. Purchasing certified coins from established grading services substantially reduces those risks by providing independent verification of authenticity and condition. For raw coins, experienced collectors rely on careful visual examination rather than assumptions based solely on appearance or online photographs. The lasting appeal of the 1974 Jefferson Nickel comes from the remarkable contrast between its everyday origins and its modern status within advanced collections. Billions of Americans handled coins exactly like it without giving them a second thought, yet today's specialists understand that true rarity often exists not in the date itself, but in the quality of preservation. A perfectly original, sharply struck, brilliantly lustrous example surviving after half a century is far less common than its enormous mintage suggests. Preserving such coins requires proper storage in inert holders, protection from fingerprints and moisture, and avoiding any cleaning that would permanently diminish originality. As generations of collectors continue building increasingly competitive Jefferson nickel sets, the finest authenticated examples remain sought after not because every 1974 nickel is rare, but because the very best survivors represent an extraordinary combination of history, craftsmanship, condition, and scarcity that only a small number of coins have managed to preserve.